Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, and this is just a live stream discussion about who I personally would go for the West Ham game. Well, not just the West Ham game in general. We've got a lot of options now. We've got Neal Maupay or Calvert-Lewin, for example. That'll be the first topic, and then we'll get on to the midfield. Which we went from having hardly anything of a core in this squad to having a lot of core strength. If you're going on about just the core of the team, that midfield, the core strength there is unbelievable. It's mad how a couple of signings, Cody, Tarkowski, Guay, Onana, and all of a sudden the midfield and the centre backs look a lot better. So we'll get into that as well. We'll talk about Maupay's debut, which was the Merseyside derby, one of the tougher matches to debut in, obviously. Yeah, and then we'll discuss a little bit more. I'll be reading the comments. It's just myself tonight, so I'll be reading the comments. So hello to Erwin, the Lion, and Ron Bibby. How you all doing? Hope you're doing very well. First of all, let's go to the Merseyside. The last time Everton played, which was the Merseyside derby, over a week ago now. Obviously, the fixtures were suspended this weekend. So we'll go all the way back to the Merseyside derby and look at basically how Maupay did. I mean, from watching it, I thought he did okay. I thought he did all right, bearing in mind the first time he's played with the squad. Didn't really get a lot of time to train with the squad either. Missed that one chance. Before we get into his stats, I think we all were going to mention the chance he had. When he missed that, part of me said, I messaged my mates in the group chat and I went, now I can see why Brighton had an issue with converting their chances and their XG was so high. And his was so high compared to his goals because he should have scored. He should have scored that. Saying that, should have won 1-0. Cody's goal was incredibly unfortunate, being chalked off. But yeah, Neal Maupay, there was a really good one. But other than that, I don't think he did anything particularly wrong. He was just unlucky. A great chance, didn't finish it. Oh well. I mean, yeah, just oh well, because I don't think that he did anything wrong other than that. And then we'll talk about Calvert-Lewin, who by the time we play, I think he's only a couple of weeks away now. He's training again, doing light training. Originally, if this weekend's fixtures were going to be suspended, which there were rumours they were, but now they're not, we would have gone into the international break, and that would have given him and possibly Pickford another chance to get fit. But alas, that's not going to happen. We're playing West Ham this weekend. It's going to be a very, very tough game. That I know West Ham aren't exactly firing on all cylinders, but we're the type of team. I still think even this season, Moyes will be sitting there going, "This is the team you want to come against, lads, to change your look. This is the team you want to play if you want to change your look around." But yeah, the main topic of today is Neal Maupay, Calvert-Lewin. Who'd you start? For the sake of this argument, we're going to say Calvert-Lewin is now fully fit because there's no point discussing it if he's injured. That's like saying, would you rather the bike with fully blown tyres or the bike with one tyre popped? You're obviously going to pick the fully working one. So yeah, like I said, we'll go through Neal Maupay first of all because we know Calvert-Lewin inside out. I don't think anybody in here needs a refresher on Calvert-Lewin. Although it does feel like a lifetime ago since we saw him. Obviously, he came back towards the end of last season, but then he got injured again at the start of this season. And unfortunate, not related injuries, just an unfortunate, unlucky sort of thing for Calvert-Lewin. That is, I don't think he's injury prone. Well, I'm not worried that he is like some people are because it's not the same reoccurring injury. If it was a reoccurring injury, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, he's done. But as far as I'm concerned, they said this was a freak accident in training. That could mean that somebody's gone and clobbered him in training. I'm pretty sure it's happened before at Everton where somebody's clobbered one of them in training and have been injured. But we'll go through Maupay first, and I'll even get his stats up for Brighton, and then we'll go through Calvert-Lewin's stats towards the end of last season, because although he missed a large part of last season, he came back and he was amongst the goals pretty much right away. which is what you want from your striker. You want him to be amongst the goals and stuff. So yeah, going back to the derby, Neal Maupay played the full 90 minutes. Fantastic to see that, especially as I said, he's pretty much brand new, forced into the team. He had 5 shots in total. Looking at it now, the best one was the one that was saved. That had an XG of like 0.5. Really fast break. Should have saved it right at the keeper. And then he had a couple of shots that were blocked. Sort of blocked, missed, and then a couple that just went wide of the post. Even both the ones that went wide of the post, one was a little bit better than the other. But like I said, it was that glaring one that the keeper saved. Alisson saved, but it was right at him. Saying that though, he did have a 75% pass accuracy, which isn't bad. Created 4 chances, which is good to see, because that was the other sort of worry that people had, was our chance creation. Maupay's coming in and he's showing he's a forward that can create. He had an expected goals of 1, so you could argue he really should have scored. But again, don't want to focus on that too much, because we all know that that was his missed chance. That was his big missed chance. He had 24 touches, 2 recoveries, one out of 1 ground duels, 0 out of 1 aerial duels, but he's not. He's in that sense, he doesn't hold a candle to Calvert-Lewin. He's not going to be that aerial presence that Calvert-Lewin is. But he had a good game. Yeah, like the Foot Mob, for example, have got him as a 7.2. I would argue that's fair. I think a lot of players had a good game. I think a lot of the squad did. I genuinely do think we were unlucky not to come out of it with a win. Although saying that, they also had chances. Jordan Pickford playing through his skin once again. Keeping us alive. We're going to miss him on the weekend. But that's Neal Maupay. And then obviously he's been at Brighton. The major one with Brighton, a lot of people arguing that they could have been a bit higher if they finished their chances, if they got a striker that could finish, which doesn't sound great when we bought him. But I mean, looking at it last season, he played 32 games, started 25 of them. He got 8 goals. He had an XG of 9.7, so should have probably had 9, 10 goals. Only underperforming by 2 isn't a massive, drastic thing. A lot of chances created. He created 23 chances. Only got 2 assists, but he created 23 chances. So you could argue maybe if there were more clinical players around him as well, which I think is what you get with Maupay. He can hold up play with the ball at his feet a little bit, and he's more of your pass move, that creative runs, trying to get in between the lines of the defence, and get a shot off or a pass off. So in that way, he's a lot more creative. And when you hear what Frank Lampard wants, he wants a passing, expansive game. He sort of fits that. He does fit that. You can see why we've gone for him. That, and I think the club just knew we needed a striker, and he was one of the ones available. But there is some sense behind it. It's not buying Solomon Rondon, for example. There was some logic in this, that he will go towards what Frank Lampard wants to implement here. Now, speaking of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who we do know very, very well. We'll go through last season. Obviously, like I said, a little bit tough because he was injured for a large amount of it. Played 17 games last season, got 5 goals, 2 assists. Out of the fairness of fair, his XG was 6.5, so he's 1.5 under his XG, which isn't, that's not actually that bad. The season before that, played 32 or started 32 games, got 16 goals, had an XG of 16.3. So pretty clinical there. Really impressive, which is what I think Calvert-Lewin is, especially under Ancelotti. We saw it, but I don't think he's lost it. He's a clinical forward, in the air, ball his feet. I mean, the argument is that he's not very good dribbling wise, and his one-on-ones could probably be a little bit better, but he is clinical. He does show that he does finish his chances. And like I said, he came back last season. We're going to go from the 1st of... he came back on the 11th of May, played in the Watford game, the 0-0, only got 13 minutes, and there couldn't really do much. Then in the Brentford game, he played the full 90, got a goal, played against Crystal Palace in the 3-2 that saved us from relegation, got a goal. And then in the 5-1 thrash into Arsenal, which I'm pretty sure we all would love to forget, he got an assist. So since coming back, 4 games, 3 goal contributions. From a quite serious injury, played 13 minutes on the 11th, then literally 4 days later played a full 90. Then 3 days after that, 4 days after that, played a full 90. For then 4 days after that, playing another full 90 because the fixtures were just junked together. So he pretty much bounced back straight away. Which is why I don't think anybody can doubt his, determination, because that's quite impressive. Normally, when you come back from an injury like that, you need time. You're off the pace. You're off, and people were saying he was off the pace, and he was. I remember a couple of times where I'm thinking a fully fit Calvert-Lewin gets on the end of that, and if this is him at half a pace, 3/4 of the pace, he still gets the goals, which is really important. So the big question is, fully fit, who'd you start? By the way, let me know. I'm going to read the comments in a minute and catch up with what you've all been saying. But let me know who you'd start. Me personally, I would try and start both of them, which is a really cop-out answer. But I think Neal Maupay is a different type of striker to Calvert-Lewin. And I think if they play together with the chances Maupay creates, they can make a little bit of that. I would probably play someone like maybe like a Gordon, Maupay, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, either him coming in on the off the side, or I'd play 2 up top and see what they can do together. Probably wouldn't play McNeil just because he's struggling at the minute. I'm not been massively impressed. Although once Calvert-Lewin comes back, I hope to see a bit more from McNeil because he has something to aim for. Everybody says he's a good crosser of the ball. He's going to have a big lad to cross the ball to. I'm hoping we see a bit better of that, a bit better from McNeil in the assists column. But we'll have to wait and see whether that actually happens. But like I said, I'll read some of your comments now, but don't forget to let me know which one you'd start and why. Or you can do the cop-out answer like me and pick both. It's not against the rules. Looking through, I take it Kudus has scored. As Erwin said, he scored again. By the way, I don't think there's any chance we get Kudus now. Unfortunately, Ajax weren't going to give away Anthony and Kudus, so it's a shame that we're missing out on him. Wham from We Talk Ajax, I think it was, that I spoke to, he said he was a really good player, and we're starting to see that. Erwin's put DCL's in full training. Is he in full training now? That's even better. He must be near enough ready to return. The Lions said, I think, an early bid of 25, and we might. Oh, I'll tell you that's off Kudus. Yeah, I don't think we get Kudus. I think that one's sort of gone. Looking at this, Ron Bibby's put DCL over Maupay. The Lions agreed with him. Well, the Lions put Maupay on the wing. How good is Maupay on the wing? Asks Ron Bibby. Again, same as what the Lion says. I don't know there's a definite guarantee that he can play there, but he's fast and he seems decent at passing. I don't know the distance that he covered in the derby, unfortunately, and I think I could probably maybe find it on like SofaScore, but very limited to what I can get on FotMob. I agree with probably with Ron Bibby that play Maupay out wide. He is faster and he's good at passing. I'd rather him out wide and Calvert-Lewin in the middle than by any means. I think he will come good. I think he's just struggling to fit in at the minute, which is unfortunate, but understandable. It's a different team. You've got to understand as well, he was used to play under Sean Dyche, and now he's asked to play under Frank Lampard. Two very, very different managers and different styles in that. Just to answer your question, Owen, I can't find the amount of ground he covered, but his heat maps suggest he was pretty much a stay up the top end of the pitch player, which I think we saw. I think we pretty much saw that when he was playing. It doesn't say how much distance he covered, but his heat map suggests a little bit up on the Liverpool box, and then a little bit around the centre circle. That'll be when we're defending. So, pardon me. even when we're defending, he's our highest player, which is good to see. It's good to see that. You don't want all 11 behind the ball too far back. At least he offers a bit of a counter-attacking football there, which is good to see. Erwin put Maupay, give him 50, and then either DCL join him or straight swap. Yeah, that's the other option. We could just, because I mean, maybe easing in Calvert-Lewin is the sensible thing to do here and not just lob him in. But I mean, if they're both fully fit, both fully match fit as well, can hit the ball running straight away, I'm going to align with Dominic Calvert-Lewin just because he scores his chances a little bit better, and I think we need that. But I mean, I try and get both of them in if you can. Maybe play two up top, go like, I know Frank Lampard quite likes the 5 at the back, 3 at the back, maybe a 3-5-2 when everybody's fully fit. Fill out the midfield then with Guay, Onana, and then I don't know, Tom Davis. We'll get on to the midfield for the second half of this. This is what the second half will be, is the midfield. Because again, like I said, we've got a lot of core strength in this team now. It's really impressive. So we'll get into that. But a 3-5-2 wouldn't be massively a massive difference. And then you could fill it out with those two. There you go. John's put here from the Toffee Blues account that Maupay covered 11.1 kilometres against Liverpool, the most distance covered by any player, as well as the most chances created. So like I said, Merseyside derby, that's a really tough game to make your debut. I've seen some disastrous ones, bless. I think Matthew Pennington's was a Merseyside derby, and I'm pretty sure he either scored an own goal and a goal, or he scored a goal and got sent off. I can't remember which one quite it was. But that was sort of a 0-0 debut for him in a very, very tough Merseyside derby. So Maupay's done well there. Maupay's done really well. Ron Bibby's put that he doesn't rate McNeil, unfortunately. I think he'll come good. I just think he's struggling. Like I said, you're playing under Sean Dyche, who's a bit more defensive. You're asked to do a lot more. McNeil's defensive stats are quite impressive, but you'd expect that when you think who his manager's been. So, you know, that is what it is. He's going to be good at defending. I think if we still had Benitez in that 4-4-1 one that he's obsessed with, maybe McNeil would have been a better option then because he covers the defense. Or they're saying that maybe then that would have been made more sense. But under Lampard, where he wants the front attackers to attack, he's just finding a little bit hard at the minute. Erwin's put Maupay will score 10 for Everton. What we think? I think I'm pretty sure in his last couple of seasons he's been just under 10. He's got 8 in his first season in the Premier League. He got 10. Then he got 8. Then he got 8. Which is, again, like I said, his XG would suggest that he should have got more than that. So I think 10's a fair reflection. I think 10 is a fair reflection to want to see him score. I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility. The Lions put, I think we get back 5 when Godfrey or Holgate return and try 2 strikers. Yeah, I do think this 4-3-3, as much as I'm enjoying it and as much as it offers us stability, I don't think we should get used to this or accustomed to it, because I do think once we have Godfrey back or Holgate, he's going to try to do a 5 at the back again, 3 at the back, however you want to call it. People like to call it a 3, but when I've watched us play, it's a 5. I hope it works out, this 5-3. For me, it's not for me right now, but I'm open to it changing my mind. The Lions also think DCL and Maupay play well off each other. Yeah, exactly. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has the physical presence, the ability in the air, and he's clinical. And then you've got Maupay, who moves, can dribble with the ball, pass a little bit better. You'd hope those two sort of balance each other out, fill in each other's disadvantages, and complement each other lovely. So I'm hoping that that's what we see. Up the Toffees, Everton news and scores has said start Maupay, bench DCL because then DCL will get injured. Well, I mean, this is theoretically when they're both fully fit. Like I said, I don't think he's an injury-prone player. I think he had a bad injury, was rushed back, struggled to get back from that, and then had a freak injury this season. But he's not Shabamin. Don't think he's like Shabamin. I don't think he's going to be one that we'll never see back. I think he'll come back this season, and if we do it right, we'll have him back for the majority of the season. And I think we need him. I think his goals were missed massively last season. Richarlison sort of had to do it all on his own, because the season before that, I'm pretty sure him and Richarlison were in double figures for goals. So that's like 20 goals ripped out of your team already. 10 goals from him, sorry, and then that always puts a team in a struggle. So yeah, that's a little bit of a tough one. Jack Crocky says, I believe that we should sell Calvert-Lewin in January and get Kudus so we can keep DCL fit and not So we keep DCL fit and not play him. The thing with that is that Kudus is a midfielder, maybe a 10, but definitely more of a, like Juan said, he's more of like an Iwobi. He's the closest we've got to him is Iwobi. So you'd be selling a striker to get a midfielder, albeit creative one that is needed. And then you're dependent on Maupay and Rondon for goals. I personally think we keep DCL. I think he's got a big future. I think his injuries have sort of changed the perception of him a little bit. I think it's sort of has this sort of presence that he's done. And I don't think he is. I think he's got a big return coming. Unless a silly offer comes in. Not that they're going to now because they brought Isaac, but if Newcastle were to come in January and say 70 million for Calvert-Lewin, then we'd have to, wouldn't we? That's silly money. That is silly money. That's like when Chelsea were going to offer 60 for Gordon. You just can't turn that down. It's silly money. But now that Newcastle have got their man, I think they were the only ones, other than Chelsea, and that's Chelsea because they're another one that've got too much money for their own good. And that's the only one, and maybe Chelsea's a fair shout if Calvert-Lewin played now, hit the ground running, and Aubameyang didn't. Maybe Graham Potter looks at Calvert-Lewin then, or if not him, that Todd Bowley, because he's an absolute madman with his paycheck. I've never seen a man have such a relationship with his money. Maybe then, but I mean, I think we keep Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's still needed, and I don't trust that we can. I know the signings this season have been good, but I don't trust that we'll be able to find another striker. They're so tough. We struggled to replace Lukaku for ages. Calvert-Lewin, if he could stay fit, you could argue might be that man. But again, I wouldn't say we've completely replaced Lukaku. So you get rid of Calvert-Lewin, and we'll be talking about somebody else in 4 years who doesn't quite light the candle to Calvert-Lewin. Strikers are a tough one to find. And even outside of Everton, look at some of the strikers around this season. You tell me, other than Haaland and the top elite strikers, you struggle to find a very, very good striker. I don't even think, and I'm not including Darwin Núñez in that either. I think he's good, but I don't think he's the elite. The fact he was compared to Haaland before the season began was just an absolute ludicrous thing to do. It was setting him up to fail because Haaland's an absolute beast. The line pot, I think Maupay and DCL will play a bit like DCL and Richie did. Physical DCL, pacey second striker. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hoping for. Play him as like not even a 10, just a centre forward, just off the striker. Almost like the days of old when Moyes used to stick Fellaini up there with a striker, and Fellaini wouldn't really play as a 10, would he? He'd play as almost like a centre forward. You'd knock the ball up to him, he'd control it, play the second striker through. Almost a bit like that. That sort of, I think, would be the best thing for Maupay and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And DCL can pass the ball as well. He's not, he's not unable to pass the ball. So that would play into their hands quite well. But like I said, a lot of you guys are saying DCL, maybe even both. I am aligned with saying both. I think if you can get both of them, you've got one striker who's better at moving, dribbling, attack positioning, and can pass the ball. And you've got another striker who's clinical, gets in the right box, gets in the right positions, almost like a poacher. And he's an aerial presence that just is unbelievable. When you see him fully jump, when you see him in the air, his ability, it is impressive how much Calvert-Lewin rises, his touch, his control. So I think I'm on the same side of play both. I think they complement each other nicely. That does give Frank Lampard headaches formation-wise, because like we've said, he does like the 3-5 at the back, which gets me on to the next topic, which is the midfield. who you'd go without the options available. We went from having like one or two good midfielders to having an abundance. Sort of thing. I'll go through the window now and go through some of the core players we've signed and see what they offer. But yeah, the midfield is one that we needed to improve. And fair play to Everton. Very. I myself am very quick to criticise them when they get it wrong. But you got to applaud it them when they get it right. Which this season is what we're doing with the academy. There's a lot of stuff going on there to improve the academy, which is good. And the transfer window's been very, other than maybe another attacker, which I think we were all hoping for, I still think it's been like a B transfer window, which is good for Everton. There's been some windows where we've looked at it and we've gone, oh my gosh, what have we done in them? And then there's been others where, I'm not going to lie, that one where we got Sandro Ramirez and everyone else, I remember at the time thinking that was a great window. And in hindsight, there's not many of them left around now. And that's the sort of, a lot of those players we ended up resenting towards the end. So transfers are tough to do. But I'll go through it. We'll go through the outs then we'll go through the ins. Then we'll talk about the midfield. Because I still think a 3-5-2 isn't beyond or a 5-3-2 isn't beyond the realms for Frank Lampard. Obviously that means you take out Gordon now and McNeil, which I think McNeil I don't think would be the heartbreaker, but I think Gordon is becoming quite an undroppable player. So it's trying to get Maupay. Maybe sticks, changes it and keeps a 4 at the back. But if he's going to play a 5, it's a struggle to get everyone in. But anyway, going through the window, we'll go. The first one was obviously, we won't count the free transfers. Richarlison to Tottenham Hotspur, 58 million. It says here that might be different to what was reported. I'm just going off the website I'm using in front of me because I can't quite remember. But yeah, we'll say that's gospel for now. I think it was around 60, wasn't it? It was around 60 odd million. Yeah, I think we can all agree this one was a tough one. I was absolutely gutted. One of my favourite players from Everton. I don't think I've liked the player that much for a while. Maybe Lukaku when he was with us was the last one that I liked with that much affinity, just because of what he offered to the team. So yeah, absolutely devastated to see him go. But I think, and he's already hitting it off for Spurs. But I think he basically kept he really did try to keep us up. I don't think we could really stand in his way anymore. And then after that, not really many went off. A lot of loans. Ellis Sims on loan, which now seems a bit strange because we could have done with a striker. So Ellis Sims off seemed a bit bonkers. Dobbin also joined him. Broadhead went out on loan. Sims to Sunderland. Dobbin to Derby County. Broadhead to Wigan. Dele Alli to Besiktas. Apparently had a really good 2 games I've seen so far. He might have played more, but I saw him trending on Twitter for playing 2 really good games. Good. The more good games he plays, the more likely they are to want to sign him properly. Shabamin off to Trabzonspor. Again, OP does well out there. I hope they end up wanting him. Niels and Kunku to Cardiff on loan. Andre Gomez to Lille on loan. Apparently he hasn't had a good start. No shock there. I think he'll be coming back. Lewis Warrington on loan to Fleetwood. They're going to have him playing like an absolute thug from what we saw from the Fleetwood game we played against. They're a very tough team, weren't they? Very physical. He'll be absolutely thugging people in. And then we've got the ins, which is the main one that everybody wants. I'm pretty sure people will be like, why, no point looking at the past. Let's look at the future, which is who we signed. James Tarkowski, the first one on the door, 3rd of July. Free transfer from Burnley. Great signing. I was a bit hesitant because I think he's like 29. We'll give him a 3-year contract, but he doesn't really get injured much at he didn't get injured much at Burnley. Obviously, touch wood, because that's a dangerous kiss of death. But you watch him now; he's a leader. He's a pain in the backside for defenders. Attackers. He irritates them. He organises us really, really well, which is great to see. I actually really do like Tarkowski. I think he's a great addition. He just adds a calm head. He's probably, maybe getting Michael Keane was the wrong idea. He was Michael Keane's replacement, but he's a calm-headed player. Maybe if we'd just gone for him in hindsight, it'd have been brilliant. But he adds a level of, just a level of, just, I'm trying to think of another word than calm. Just a calmness to the defense, no panic, just get it out, do your job, easy, simple, no making it difficult for yourselves. And like I said, leader, absolute pain in the backside to play against for the attackers, good player. Then we have Ruben Vinagre on loan from Sporting. Obviously, he was at Wolves. Not going to judge him much because we're not really seeing much of him. Can play wing back, can play left mid, more of an attacking wing back. I think this makes sense because Mykolenko is more of a traditional fullback. I think we all knew from when I spoke to the Zora lads when we signed Mykolenko all the way back then, they said going forward might be the difficult one for him. And I think we can see that not difficult, but he's not comfortable going forward as much as Vinagre will. But then on the other side, I have a feeling Vinagre isn't going to be as good defensively as Mykolenko, so you sort of struggle, don't you? Not everybody, unfortunately, can be Leighton Baines. Then we have Dwight McNeil for 20. This says 24. From Burnley, already spoke about McNeil, haven't we? Struggling. Defensive stats are good. Attacking wise, a bit difficult. I think he's just an out and out traditional winger, and we're playing him sort of as an inside forward. I think he'll come good in the end. I think once he's got Calvert-Lewin a focal point, a lot of his crosses, he does try a lot of crosses. A lot of them aren't accurate. Whether that's him absolutely, bad cross, absolutely launching it into the stratosphere, or whether it's just he's crossing it up to, because until we got Maupay, don't forget, he was crossing for Anthony Gordon. And as much as I like Gordon, nobody in the world can convince me that he's the type of player you should be crossing the ball to sort of get it in. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to be able to convince me that if you have Anthony Gordon up front, you should be crossing the ball in the air, because that's just not what you should be doing with a player like that. I think once Calvert-Lewin comes back, again, I'm putting a lot of hope on Calvert-Lewin here, which I know, but it's just one of them. I think he's an integral part of our team. He'll help out a little bit more as well in terms of McNeil being able to cross the ball, have somebody to aim for. Like I said, Gordon's not a very good aimer, very good person to aim for. I think it was the Chelsea game. There was one where the ball, I don't know if it was from McNeil, but the ball goes floating in, and I watched it with my friends, and I was saying, you know what, Calvert-Lewin scores that. He absolutely bangs that, which is, it is what it is, isn't it, guys? You could sort of say that about most things, but I think when he comes back, it'll be a bit better. Moving on to the other player we signed as well, we've got Connor Cody on loan again. This one, pretty much take what I said about Tarkowski and put it on Cody. Leader, good centre back, calm-headed. Apparently can't play in a 4, which is why one of the reasons that supposedly Wolves wanted to get rid of him. From what I've seen, I think he can play competently in the 4. I've not seen anything from him where I'm like, oh my gosh, stop playing a 4 with him, and the games I've watched where he played a 4, he's been good, and he's been, otherwise we'd be like, oh gosh, stick Michael Keane in or someone. Although saying that, he'd have to have quite a bad game for me to want to stick Michael Keane in instead. But I think he can play in a 4 very competently. He's I think Cody's 28, 29, maybe even 30. He's old enough to 29. He's old enough to be, he's played, he's been around, he's old enough. He's not a young lad. He can play in a 2 centre back formation and a 4 at the back. I'm not fully believing that he can't do that. And from what I've seen, there's no evidence to suggest he can't either. Next, we have Onana, who has really gone down well with the fans. This is a 31.5 million transfer according to Transfer Market. Again, FootMob says 36. Either one. Again, I can't remember all the transfer fees for the players we signed, so I'm going to trust Transfer Market because they're a little bit more accurate. Onana, really good lad. Obviously, played first game, made a mistake, but then made up for it. Since then, there have been some games where I watch him and I think he's a bit shaky. But then there's other games where I think really dynamic. What a player! He's a young lad. He's going to make mistakes. Listen, he is going to make them. He's only 21, but he looks like he has the making and the potential to be a great player. Really big physical presence. When you watch his interviews, he speaks well. He speaks really impressively. He again has a lot of maturity for his age. I think he has all the potential to be a great future star for us. And he's another option in midfield, very dynamic. He moves more than Gomez, and he even moves more than Tom Davies, who, since coming back, I will say has had a really good run of games, but he's a bit more dynamic than those two. Can play box to box, but can also play as a 6 and an 8, which is impressive. Next, we have Neal Maupay, which cost us. This says 10, and then this one says 17. Again, I'm not going to get fixed on the transfer fees that much. Maupay, I've just been through. I don't think we need to go through him again. I think we needed a striker. He's an all right striker. I think he'll complement Calvert-Lewin when Calvert-Lewin comes back into the fold. So an all right bit of business. Then we had Idrissa Gana Gueye on the second to last day of the transfer window. Well, the last day. Rumoured, this one again was rumoured to be all sorts. This one I knew it was coming. I think it was around 3 to 4 million he cost us in the end. Knew this was coming from the start, very early on, but it just dragged out so much. There were already reports saying that he was having his medical done like a month and a half ago. People were saying, oh, he's in Liverpool having his medical done. PSG were playing silly beggars, I think, with the fee. Gueye said he wanted to go, I believe somebody said he took a severance package. He came back. Yeah, great player, fantastic player. The only asterisk I had when we signed him back was that to replace the type of player he is, we've had to sign him again 3 years later, which shows how annoying Everton have been up until this window in the fact that we're signing a player to replace the hole he left. That's the only and that's not against him. That's more against the running of the club. Fantastic player, calm, gone off to Paris, won trophies in France, come back with a bit of silverware as well, which matters. It does matter, when you've got that winning mentality in a squad. So far, he looked all right. He doesn't look off the beat. He'll look even better as it goes on. Like I said, we missed last week's fixtures, so there's more time for him to integrate with the squad. The squad team seemed to like him as well. There were those photos with him with Gordon. He said he used to watch us, didn't he? He used to watch us when he was in France. He played in the derby as well. I think he played okay. I think once he came on, we looked a bit more in control, a bit more level-headed in the midfield. I think his presence was known. Whether he, I don't think he did anything drastically in attack, but I remember he was one of my favorite. He was another one that I really rated before he left. And I remember saying to my dad when we'd watch him at Goodison, I was like, he does the work that nobody will praise because I'm saying now about the derby, I can't remember him doing a great pass. I can't remember him having a great shot. And they're the things people remember, but he sweeps up well. He intercepts well. He tackles well. He does the dog's body work that isn't going to get the plaudits unless, Sky are feeling a bit funky one day and want to do it. They don't tend to sort of highlight CDMs, and the world doesn't really. Kante's the only one where I think he's a bit adored for a CDM. And he's a great CDM, so he deserves it, but he's the only one I can think of where people love to sort of concentrate on him. It's a really tough, well, not a tough job, it is a tough job, but it's a really unloving job in that role. And he does it well. And I think when he came on, we looked a lot more comfortable. I think it made us go a little bit further out, a bit more attacking, because we had the experience and the defensive ability of him to set back on. And also when you play a three-man midfield like that, it allows you to have, one go bursting forward, so a Wobie, for instance, and then you've got one sitting back in front of the defence or just around about there. And then you've got the other one that if you need be, can sit back, but he can also go and join. So, yeah, Gueye, really great addition to the squad. Again, bit like Cody, bit like Tarkowski. It's why this window did so. We did so well in this window. We got a good blend of some young players, the Dwight McNeils, the Onanas, the James Garners, who I'm going to get onto in a minute. Maupay is 25, 26, so he's about just in his prime. And then you've got the experienced heads of Connor Cody, Tarkowski, Garner Gay. It's a good mixture. We haven't gone too far one way or too far the other. There was one point at Everton where we were signing everyone that was 29 and over, sort of doing our best sort of X Factor impression with the 25 and over group. But this is a nice blend of young lads, level-headed, experienced players who will complement each other really, really well. And we'll add a lot of just grit to this midfield because we needed it. This midfield, I was sick of last season watching, and I liked the Corey and Allen, but I was sick of watching them get run ragged last season. As I think a lot of us were last season. I think a lot of us were sick of a lot of stuff last season. But finally, it's James Garner. Again, this fee was rumoured to be anywhere between, I think it was about 10 million in the end. I haven't seen him yet. I think he's the only one, isn't he, that we haven't really seen. And obviously Eldin Jakupovic, who I think Erwin mentioned before, we haven't seen him yet. I don't think we'll ever see him. If you haven't seen it, I did do a transfer reaction video to him earlier on the channel, so check that out. But I don't think we'll see him. In all honesty, I think he'll be another Lonergan. So yeah, James Garner, I think we will see him eventually. I think maybe probably in a cup game. Excited to see him. I heard he's a bit the Forest fan that I spoke to. Really bad, but I forgot his name. He writes for Reach papers. His name's mistaken me, which is really bad. But I talk to a lot of people about when we do player signings. But he said he was like an 8, or he can play a bit deeper as a playmaker. And he said that Forest fans really wanted him back. United were just unsure whether Ten Hag would want him or not. So Forest were like, we can't hold around and wait for United to make their mind up. We need to replace him then. So they went out and signed. The lad said they signed about 2 or 3 players like Garner. And then by the time it was made known that Garner was going to go, Forest were in a position where they were like, well, we're not going to sign him now. We've got about 3 or 4 players of the same mold and the same ilk. So why would we, sign him now? But like Forest fans said, they really did want him back, which is good signs, because that was one that people were saying. They were like, Forest spending all this money, why haven't they gone for him if he was that good? That answers your question. Forest fans wanted him. United had Ten Hag. I don't think anybody knew who was coming or going at that point. So yeah. But like I said, guys, that's the transfer window. That leaves a big, big question. Who do you start in midfield? What do you do with the midfield? Do you go 3 at the back /5 and go with a 5-3-2 or a 3-5-2 like me and a couple of others have mentioned? So you can get Maupay in there and you can get Dominic Calvert-Lewin in. Or do you stick with the 4-3-3, 3-man midfield? What do you do? Let me know down below your sort of which one you'd do, and then let me know the players you'd stick there as well. I personally, at the minute, and you'd laugh at me if I said this a year ago, Iwobi's just undroppable at the minute. Iwobi is really come into his own. It's brilliant to see Iwobi do so well. He did a sort of 24/7 with Alex Iwobi on the Everton YouTube channel. Watched that, really good lad, great attitude. Said he likes feeling part of the Everton family. Joked that he hasn't picked up the accent yet, but he said he's probably not going to, but loves being part of the family, which is great to hear. But he's probably undroppable at the minute as that free-flowing one of a 3. And even in a 2-man, he's a bit undroppable. If we're going for a 2-man, I would go Iwobi, and I'd probably, Tom Davies, again, hasn't really done anything wrong, so it feels horrible to drop him. But I'd maybe say Idrissa Gueye, just because he's a defensive-minded player, and that sort of allows Iwobi to go a little bit more freely up the field. In a 3, I'd go Gueye, Iwobi. And it is a toss-up between Tom Davies and Onana. And again, if I said to you a year ago that I was, not that he's in the same form as Iwobi by any stretch, but if I said to you a year ago, I'd really struggle to drop Tom Davies, you'd be like, you're daft, he's not even whatever, people, what people say. But I don't think, and don't get me wrong, he's not a Wobie levels of undroppable, and I wouldn't say he's undroppable, but it would feel tough to drop him because I don't think he's done anything wrong. He's not, like I said, he's not done anything brilliantly. Like he's not scored or made great balls, but he hasn't done anything wrong. So I'd maybe say those three. If I was going to drop Tom Davies, though, it would be for Onana. I just haven't seen enough of Garner yet to suggest maybe putting him in. I think the League Cup games would probably be a good chance to stick him in. Yeah, I'd probably say the League Cup. Let him have a run in the League Cup. Let the fans see what he's made of. But we've already seen Onana. We've seen Onana in some big games, so we know what he's capable of. Like I said, he's young, so he will make mistakes. But that's what you get with young players, and you've just got to think about the potential for him. I will go through a lot of your comments now because I realised the last time I read them was a while ago, so I'll have a look now and see what you guys are saying. Irwin's put big man, little man link up, obviously mentioning Calvert-Lewin and Maupay. Ron Bibby's put, I reckon Haaland and Nunes were only compared because they were both being bought at the same time by the two title contenders. Yeah, I completely agree. I think the media were trying to make that Liverpool City rivalry, competitive rivalry between the top two. I think they were trying to add a bit more spice to it. But I think anybody who watched them last season, as good as Nunes was, he wasn't Haaland. Irwin's put Iwobi, Onana, Garner, which has got a rate. It rolls right off the tongue, that, doesn't it? I mean, like I said, Tom Davies is the only one just because he hasn't done anything wrong, but I'd agree with that as well. The Lions put Irwin, that's 100% the midfield, what I think the midfield will be. Again, Onana, great player. I think you have Iwobi do a bit of going forward. Onana can go forward if needs be. So, yeah. Ron Bibby's put, if I'm being honest, I thought Richarlison would just be a bench warmer at Spurs. Injured, scored 1 and 2. I think he'll get games. I think at the minute, I don't think Heung-min Son's firing on all cylinders. I think Richarlison will get games. I think he'll do well at Spurs. I know what you mean, though. There was a lot of people thought it stunk a bit of Steven Pienaar, but I think he'll come good there. The Lions, but Ellis Sims needs to be in the first team next year. Yeah, I think Sims does. I think we need to see a couple of these young lads that are highly spoken about back, in the first team. Sims is already scoring. I think we need to see him back definitely, and I think maybe even Dobbin. Warrington's another one I'd like to. He's highly rated. I'd like to see him start making appearances in the next couple of years, next couple of seasons. The Lion put, I think all of our signings were above a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I can't say right now there's any stinkers. I said McNeil's struggling, but I don't think he's a stinker. I think he'll come good in time. I think we've just got to be a bit patient with him. The Lions also put Garner was the second best signing at 2 million. Yeah, I mean, if that was the fee, then that's even better. But I remember the fee being very low. Between 2 and 4, I'd like to bank on that it was that. That's really good. That's really good bit of business. Irwin's put Jankovic with a heart. Yeah, I don't think we'll see him, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to get game time. Ron Bibby's put, my mate's dad is a West Ham fan. I was reading out our lineup for the derby in front of him, and he was not happy when I got to Onana. Yeah, I think that was a lot of our transfer sort of method this season, wasn't it? Have targets. I don't know, just wait on them, see a club go in and go, oh no, we'll actually have you now. Good there, but apparently it cost us João Pedro doing that. Apparently we inquired, didn't hear anything when Newcastle did. They were like, okay. Then Everton just never got in contact for them for a week, and then we tried it on the last day, going, oh well, we'll take João Pedro, and Watford quite rightly were like, no, you can't just come up and rock and get him on the last day. So yeah, it did cost us João Pedro, but it worked for Onana. I'm not a fan of leaving deals till the last minute, though. We could do with not doing that next summer. The Lions put, I think Garner was 9 million plus add-ons. That's not bad. 8 or 9 million isn't bad. Ron Bibby said he can't wait for Garner to play. The Iwobi interview was on Everton's YouTube channel, mate, on the official Everton website, YouTube channel. Irwin put Decore and Allen were our starters last year, plus Donny, and then said he missed Donny. I liked him. Yeah, I liked Donny van der Beek, but I think once Ten Hag came back, he was always going to stick around for try and get his place in that squad. Yeah, no, it's just unlucky that. that we didn't get him. But alas, I think Onana might be more suited for us. The line put, I'll go Iwobi, Onana, Ghana as well. Yeah, that seems to be a very popular one. If I told you last year that if we could all go a year back when I was doing live streams on the post match, and I said, and or someone said Iwobi will be undroppable next season, and we'll all say him, we'd all have laughed. It'd have been absolutely mental. I'd have thought it was, someone taking the mick in the comments. But yeah, really fair play to Iwobi. Owen's put, Connor, what's your thoughts on Enner Valencia? Not much, mate. Not much. I remember me and my dad went to Goodison. We saw some lad with an Enner Valencia top on, next to a lad who also got who was it now? It was someone else along the same ilk as Enner Valencia. I don't think it was Lassina Traore, but it was someone of that ilk. And I looked at him and I thought, why have you both got? Oh, it was Aruna Kone. It was Enner Valencia. One lad had that on, and the other lad had a Aruna Kone top on. And I just, if it was a genuine buy because they thought the players would do well, then fair play. But I saw it and thought, it's got to be a joke, can it? Got to be an inside joke. Yeah, Enner Valencia. What can you say? I don't think he did much for us, did he? I think he only scored a couple of goals. Apparently, he's doing really well at Fenerbahce now in Turkey, but again, that's Turkey. Michy Batshuayi did really well there last year. Dele Alli's doing well there now. But the Turkish league does seem to be a place that players are going now to sort of, dare I say, stat pad themselves. But yeah, no, Enner Valencia will be along the lines of Aruna Kone levels for me. Not quite Velios, but Velios is very well restored. But yeah, and to an extent, Stracalazi, where unless you're an Everton fan, I think you'd sort of go past that. Unless you're an Everton fan, you'd be really tested to name those to play for us. The line put, I think that Vinagre will be better than people think. Yeah, I have a feeling he'll be really good attacking wise, but we'll have to wait and see. Irwin's put Enner Valencia, Joe Nias. You have a pen in the 90th minute. Who takes it? That's a tough one. That probably Nias. Probably Nias for me. Joe was another. That one escaped me for a little bit as well. That's another one name. There's some of the strikers. Everton have had some bonkers strikers in the past, haven't we? We've had some. This is what I meant before about getting rid of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It's not easy to buy strikers. They are hit and miss, and my God, we've missed a lot. We struck a bit of gold with Calvert-Lewin for the fee we got him for. At the start, you had Ronald Koeman playing him as right wing back. He's had a tough journey to get there, but he got there. We've had some awful and some great ones as well. I saw Stephen Naismith's perfect hat trick against Chelsea came up on Twitter the other day because it was an on this day, which was great to see. Really good enjoyment. And I liked Nikita Jelavic as well. Really liked Jelavic when he played for us. What wasn't a massive. I didn't think he was great in terms of quality in Ichibi, but he liked Everton. He liked playing for Everton, and he still supports the club. So that's worth something. But I didn't think Ichibi was sort of levels above. But yeah, we've had some decent strikers, and we've had some misses, big misses. I think the best one in my lifetime probably Lukaku. I think he's fantastic. I think he was fantastic for us. But we've had some other great ones, Andy Johnson was good as well. I enjoyed watching him play. Jermaine Beckford as well. He sometimes, I think he did the Everton Leeds game on the telly, actually. He was one of the co-pundits. But yeah, we could go on for ages about some of the strikers Everton have had through their door. Some absolute mad ones. Ron Bibby's put Dele Alli's too good for the Turkish league. Yeah, yes. Well, when you think about the potential he had when he was younger, yeah. But apparently, it was Dele Alli's to sort of throw away, and apparently he didn't impress at Everton. Harry Redknapp came out as well on TalkSport the other day and said he's the reason we got Dele Alli. He called Frank Lampard up and said, go for Dele Alli. Which, if that's true, because obviously Frank Lampard came in and we all thought Dele Alli was done before Lampard got through the door. So if that's true by Redknapp, that's a bit poor. We don't need agents, and we don't need managers' uncles that used to be managers giving Everton transfer advice. But I think that's a lesson learned. I can't see Frank Lampard listening to Uncle Harry again. Irwin's put Valencia and Josh King up front for Fenerbahce, Tosin and Dele for Besiktas. Jeez, it's going to be an Everton derby, that is, isn't it? I know Tosin's back there because I saw that fan that karate kicked him the other day. Some of the scenes in Turkey are mental, aren't they? Some of the scenes are beggars belief. You couldn't write it. That boy said, should we get Beto from Udinese? I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've not seen much of him, and I definitely just butchered his name, even though it is quite simple. I'm not seeing much of him, mate, in all honesty. I don't know how well he's been doing this season for them. If he's prolific, maybe. I don't think we need another maybe we need another with Maupay. I don't know. I thought we needed someone who's a bit more versatile, a bit more like a Richarlison, like a João Pedro. Honestly, I'd prefer us just to go back for João Pedro in the winter or next summer. We need a player who can play up front but can also play around the forward. Just a bit of versatility. Emmanuel Dennis, I was really keen on that. Didn't happen. The Lion Pot, I hope we can get a few more players in January. I hope so as well. The only problem with January is everybody knows what you want and the prices are high. It's like a convenience store or like the bar at festivals. They can put the price how they like because they know you're going to pay because you've already lined up there. The Lion also put Connor, do you think we still need Ben, Barrett and Diaz? Yeah, I think we still need another creative forward. I quite like I think Diaz will be cheaper as it goes on because his contract's due up this season. So unless Blackburn convince him to stay, I think we might even be able to try and get him on a Bosman or a good price in January. I'd rather us just get a good price for him in January. But again, depends where we're at January. Reassess it then. That's a long way away. This football season's weird as well. We've got the World Cup right in the middle of all that. It's a really silly season, isn't it, this season? So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Maybe if you ask me again, if you ask me again, then maybe I'll change my mind in a few months. Ron Bibby's asked, where do you think we'll finish the season? I think we'll finish between 12th and 14th, so like maybe from 12th and not between because that's 13. 12th to 14th in any of those three, maybe even 11th. And I don't think that's disastrous, bearing in mind where we were last season. I think it's an all right building block to make because the leagues are looking a lot more competitive every year. There's a lot of good teams and a lot of good coaches. So I don't think that would be a disastrous place to finish. But yeah, before we finish up, guys, I just want to say as well, if you haven't already liked the stream, we massively appreciate it here on the channel. Again, rounding up, it was Maupay, Calvert-Lewin, who would start in the midfield. So just to round up and let you know before we leave, I think start Calvert-Lewin and Maupay if you can at the same time. If you put a gun to my head, so pick one or the other. Calvert-Lewin, I think he's a bit more clinical. Midfield, I'd go a three-man midfield. I'd stick with the three. I'd go Gueye. I'd probably go Gueye, Onana, Iwobi, but again, it's a bit tough on Davis that because I don't think he's done anything wrong. I just think Onana is a very dynamic player. But there, and if in a two, Gueye and Iwobi. Yeah, the Lions put. I know it's probably unrealistic, but I think we have a slight chance for Kudus. He wanted to come. Maybe it depends how well if they can sort it out. Again, 3 months away is a long time. They might be all right by then. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. Like I said, if you could like the stream on the way out, that'd be massively appreciated. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already as well. And stay safe, guys. See you very soon.